All right, good evening. I'm Councilmember Claire Kelly, chairing the City of Evanston's Administration and Public Works Committee. Today on June 24th, we'll now convene the meeting of the Administration and Public Works Committee. We have a forum. It is not 5:05. Thank you. And Director Keno, if you would take roll.
Councilmember Newsma.
Here.
Councilmember Burns. Councilmember Reed. Oh, Councilmember Burns is on coming in. Councilmember Kelly. Here. Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we have a quorum, and so we'll go ahead and start with public comment. And first on our, I'm sorry. Let's, first I'd like to see if someone would like to move to approve the minutes.
Madam Chair, I will move items M1 and M2. M1 is the approval of the minutes from April 29th and May 28th. M2 is the approval of meeting notes from May 13th and June 10th. We did not have quorum on those dates, but did have some discussion.
Second.
Great, the minutes have been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. We'll now move to public comment. And we'll start with James Johnson.
Laura?
I'll go and be the last one, but that's okay. Yeah, I'll begin with, I'm just going to go inside. It's easier to speak with, I think. My name is James Johnson, a resident of the 4th Ward here in Evanston. And the reason why I'm here is to speak on regarding to the Evanston Dog Beach being ADA accessible. I had filed a grievance a little over a year ago on that situation. I've contacted EQUIP for equality concerning the situation of my legal aspects of it. I met down at the Dog Beach with the Parks and Recreation Director and spoke on that. A lot of residents of the beach kind of not really interested in having an ADA Dog Beach because that's even better. Even for their convenience, not for those that are disabled, for our convenience. I have a service animal, in fact, and then later on I was invited to be on the ADA Advisory Committee as a member. And my whole situation is that's constantly being, those of us that are disabled are being kicked back at the end of the line for a lot of things, and this is one of them. I go down to the lakefront every day. I had a good day with my dog to go. And going down to the beach with my dog to let him run a little bit, it's bonding between us. I do have a dog beach pass. I have a home care provider that takes him down to the beach with me, but he doesn't really enjoy the bonding because he's looking for me. I have to go down to the pier at the end to watch him. He's looking for me, and then when he sees me, he's trying to jump up there to get to me. And the chairs that you have that's for the sand, accessible for those who are in a wheelchair, even that's not accessible to go down to the dog beach with that. And I've talked to other citizens, senior citizens, they have dogs, they either have a rollerator, a cane, or a scooter, and they would like to have the opportunity of taking their dog to the dog beach but they're not able to because it's not handicap accessible. And then there's no parks accessible for having a dog park in Evanston, period. And I believe my dog has a right to enjoy himself as a dog, even though he's with someone working as a service animal. And to that aspect, I'm here to explain that there's a lot of citizens, seniors, has dogs. And from the diagram that you have accessible for that is a great plan because you have a lot of those admirers and would like to observe the dogs at the dog beach because they're dog animals. They love to see the enjoyment of the dogs and human companionship. And when you get older, dogs are a companion for the seniors. And my dog saved my life. And to close with this, I think you got to remember it's a federal law, first and foremost, and we have a right to have access to a beach that's accessible, and especially if you have a service dog. I believe my dog or other service dogs has a right to have freedom to be a dog once in a while. And in closing, that I would ask for those who's not really trying to get this resolved as quickly as possible, but wants to put it on the back burner, I ask you to possibly consider of renting a wheelchair or borrowing a wheelchair or a rollerator and utilize yourself and put yourself in our situation for a day. Traveling down the sidewalks, trying to get on the access of the lakefront, trying to get to a picnic table. It's unable to. And in closing, that there is no ADA dog beach anywhere around this vicinity. And if you decide to build that, I'm sure you will generate revenue as time goes on because people with disabilities will come down to this beach. And I mean, you will draw revenue from residents that's not residents of Evanston to help pay for this.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, next we have Carl Klein online. Let's see, Carl Klein.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. As a concerned citizen and member of the Preservation Commission, I am speaking tonight about the Evanston Dog Beach Access Project. I understand that the project was approved as part of the 2024 Capital Improvements Plan in the 2024 budget. However, the City of Evanston should follow proper public procedures. In April, 3 days before the Evanston Dog Beach Access Project was going to bid, the officers of the Preservation Commission were first alerted of this project. Yes, the City of Evanston adhered to the Certificate of Appropriateness policy, and this type of project is listed as either a staff or commission review in the rules of circumstance, but a majority of the officers agreed that for such a public historic place, a public certificate of appropriateness review is appropriate, and that it deserves a more public-facing process as a public project that is not a replacement in kind, nor is it a small project. Also, it is important to note that neither the preservation ordinance nor the current rules and procedures give the City of Evanston the latitude to selectively choose what projects the Preservation Commission gets to consult on and review and comment on. It plainly states that the Commission shall review and comment on city-initiated projects that affect designated federal or local historic resources or resources determined eligible for designation by the Commission. If the City of Evanston staff would like to disregard the opinion of the officers of the Preservation Commission, then a public memo or a letter should be drafted stating their reasoning for not following the preservation ordinance nor following the current Preservation Commission rules and procedures. I strongly believe that the City of Evanston should allow for the Preservation Commission to positively influence a project early on when changes are more easily feasible, and it allows for the Commission to act as a consulting party when there is more opportunity to influence the project when it's being ideated. I want to commend Cade Sterling, Preservation Planner and Staff Liaison to the Preservation Commission, for advocating for a public process. The city correctly followed this process in April when the city's preliminary scope of work for the Noise Cultural Arts Center was presented to the Preservation Commission. This was in compliance with the Preservation Commission's advisory, review, and consultation powers and duties related to city-initiated projects or activities. This is my public comment as one of the officers of the Preservation Commission. I do not want in any way for you to believe that I am speaking on behalf of the other two officers. I am necessarily giving my personal public comment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Next, we have Mary Rosinski.
Hi, thank you very much. And I appreciated hearing Mr. Johnson as well as Mr. Klein speak on the dog beach issue also. As a resident of Evanston, I too want an ADA accessible beach. However, we've only seen one plan, and this plan that is already $250,000 over the initial plan. I am also a member of the Parks and Rec Board, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the Parks and Rec Board. And I think there needs to be more, just a true, transparent public engagement with this. Because is this really the best plan for 750, which may very well become 850 or more? Or is there a better plan? So I was talking with a friend of mine who's in a wheelchair the other day, and, she was just wondering if it has to be so meandering. Maybe that is the right thing. I don't know. But I'm wondering what sort of public engagement it has had as an overall kind of, this is the project that staff is recommending. I'm only seeing the one idea from the one contractor, and now we're up there, and we're talking about our lakefront. And this should be part of a comprehensive plan that connects all the lakefront. Someone else had another idea that I don't even think was put out there that would involve maybe paying the money to move some of the rocks so as not to take so much of the beach away while still allowing people who want to watch their dogs but not be on the sand be there. And then I was over at Lincoln Beach right next to Northwestern and seeing their accessible beach, and it's beautiful the way that they get down there, and it doesn't look to be half of as invasive as ours. Maybe it's not feasible, or maybe it is, but I'd love us to at least do a true exploration of those couple possibilities, and then make the decision, and then move forward with getting that beach. All of our other beaches have Moby plant mats and are accessible, ADA accessible, and I would like to see this get it too. So thank you very much for your time. Please send it to the commission for their approval and get public engagement.
Thank you, Ms. Rosinski. And does that conclude? Okay, that concludes public comment for this evening. I'll now ask if any members would like to remove any items from the consent agenda. I'd like to take off A2, A10, A11, and A12. A2, A10, A11, and A12. And are there any others?
Madam Chair, I will move the consent agenda consisting of all items except A2, A10, 11, and A12.
Second. Okay. The consent agenda has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It's been approved. Okay, so would somebody please move item A?
So I'll move item A2, approval of the contract award with John Keno and Company for the Evanston Dog Beach Access Project, which is bid 2418.
Second.
Item A2 has been moved and seconded. And as chair, I'll wait if there are any other comments before I make a few comments, being the person who pulled this off. So absolutely, ADA access here is very important. I'm fully supportive of that and want to see us move forward with that. It's important to the city. It's also important to people who require improved or modified access. I have heard, there was a lot of community. A large group of us met at the Dog Beach a while ago, including other abled residents. and looked at the plans that were proposed. And then since then, it didn't come to committee. So I think I heard this evening from both members of the disabled community and others that had they known this was coming up for a vote, they would have gotten involved earlier than just finding out now. I think since then, since we met, what I have heard is that there's an interest in a plan that would allow a little bit to what Mr. Johnson spoke to, an option to be able to do both, view the dog beach, sort of a switchback plan, which I know early on we did have a plan, but I think revisiting a switchback plan so that that's a more direct path, albeit, the necessary footage to get to make the appropriate slope, but so that folks who are disabled, not only wheelchair-bound, but others would have the opportunity to view the dog beach without necessarily having both options, to enter the dog beach, but also the option to view a dog beach where dogs are off leash from a switchback type pathway. This is what I've heard since then, that thinking about it, the meandering path through this sort of prairie area, doing this would have much less environmental impact to our beach area, if we were to do it this way, at least to reconsider this. So I think that there are other options since back when this was first presented to us, it hasn't come through the committee. I also feel very strongly, I would like to see this go back through the Preservation Commission. Again, we want to see this move along, but I think it is our obligation. This is our historic lakefront. This is a structural change. This isn't, we aren't putting a swing set, or benches at the lakefront. We're making some serious changes, and I want it to be right. This is going to be here for a very long time, 50 years or more. I want it to be right for our other abled community, and as well as, for our lakefront and for the environment. And I think that if I think it's appropriate to vet this and have this go through our Preservation Committee as our code reads. So, I'm sorry, Ms. Harris, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you so much. So what are the implications, if somebody can answer this, of putting this back? We always talk about money, and then we stop, start. And I'd like for us to start a project and finish it. So what would be the implications of this going back to a committee?
Members of the committee, my name is Laura Biggs. I am the city engineer. So if we were to pause this and send this back to the committee, we have received bids. Those bids are valid through July 13th. And if we exceed that date, then the bidders are no longer required to hold their pricing. So at that point, they could hold their pricing or maybe not. If we had to rebid it, then we would expect to see a 10 to 25% cost premium added on to the price of the bid. That just tends to be how it is. So that would be anywhere from $70,000 to $175,000 type of increase. Okay. In addition to repackaging it and sending it out to bid, we would have to engage the consultant and repeat some of the services they've already provided. So that would probably be another $10,000, $15,000 that we would have to spend.
Okay, so I had a number of questions. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. When were we hoping to go start this project?
We were hoping to start this project in late summer, early fall.
Okay. And would that change? Well, of course it would change. Yes. When we do that.
Yeah, we would not, if we rebid it, we won't start the project in 2024. We would do the construction in 2025.
Okay. If these were concerns, Councilmember Kelly, I'm not directing it to you, but you have the concern. Why are we just talking about now when we're ready to move forward? Why are we just talking about that now? Yeah.
So we did all meet. We were, when it first came up to council, I got involved, many folks got involved, again, both from the disabled community and the dog beach community.
Right.
But it didn't make its way through committee, so we didn't know until just recently that this was coming now. We had hoped that there'd be some modified plans and more meeting. There's a dedicated working dog beach committee that includes members of the disabled community. I think we had hoped that there would be some conversations prior to it coming for a final vote. It's a very costly project. I also think with additional input, there may be a solution that's better, that better maximizes the dollar here, the expenditures, as well as, better protects the environmental surroundings. I don't think this potential increase, thank you for that, $10,000, $20,000. I think there is that chance, but I also believe that, vetting something that's going to have such permanent impact on our lakefront and that we really want to be right for our users, I think it's worth doing this properly. Again, it was brought to us for discussion, then we all met on the beach, and now it's here for a vote. And I don't think that's really following the proper process. This is the historic lakefront, and this is supposed to go through our Preservation Commission. We have folks there who are also experts who can weigh in. And again, let's get it right. If we, can move this to spring, if it means having to do the work in spring before there's full-on usage, that might be preferable than doing it in the summer. Again, we're talking, this is going to be here for a very, very long time, and it's very expensive right now. So I think there's a good chance we can maximize expenditures and create a path that the users would prefer, that where we have more input. I think we just had again, I won't perseverate.
Okay,
I hope
thank
that
you.
answers your question.
Thank you.
And I would modify my answer to say that if we're planning on redoing a significant amount of the design and making substantial changes, we've spent about $93,000 on engineering consulting to date, so we would expect to redo a significant portion of that.
Okay. I have more questions, but I will allow my fellow council member, and then I'd like to bring up the resident. So you go now.
Thank you. Ms. Biggs, can you outline the engagement process with the various stakeholders that brought us to this point?
Certainly.
This is, I think, the third time we're talking about it at council, so there has been some process.
Yes, so there was we opened the dog beach in fall 2022, and at that time there was discussion of the need to make an ADA access to the dog beach. So we entered into a change order with Smith Group, who is doing shoreline stabilization, because there was a request to do it as expeditiously as possible. And because of where this is located, we were grounding a significant structure onto sand in the lake, potentially in the wave area. We really need to have a coastal engineer weigh in on the design and complete it in order to make sure that it is structurally sound for that purpose. So then we came back in February of 2023 with two concept designs, one which was a switchback that was entirely on the dog beach area, and one which creates a pathway across the adjacent beach area and only a short section of ramp onto the dog beach area. The second option with the pathway down to the dog beach on the adjacent beach and then a short ramp on the dog beach area was preferred by the City Council for a number of reasons. First, it was considered to be substantially less expensive because we were building less of the structure in an area where it would be exposed to potentially wave action during high wave events. Second, it was not taking up as much space on the dog beach. There's less of it located on the dog beach, and there was significant concern by the residents in the council about the amount of space on the dog beach that was going to be utilized. This allowed for most of the construction to take place off of the dog beach, so very little of the space is on the dog beach. And then third, because the construction is primarily not on the dog beach, the amount of time that the dog beach is impacted and the potential to close the dog beach while we did construction was much less. And so for potential closure, for the cost, and because the final product was less on the dog beach and took up less space, it was pretty well unanimously considered to do it that option. So we moved forward with it. But at the time, there were concerns that were raised about the potential to impact the plantings on the adjacent beach, which we have several volunteers who also work on our bird sanctuary that have been working to stabilize the beach with some additional plantings on their own time. So we met multiple times, twice with the people that were involved in the plantings. We also engaged a consultant to identify the locations and the specific species of all the plantings so that we could make sure that we were minimizing our impact. So Then we met a third time with the consultant and the people to identify potential. At that point, they recommended having a raised boardwalk for at least a portion of the pathway. So that is where the boardwalk idea came from. We also did meet the Commission for Disabilities and Aging and the Parks and Rec Board formed a working group, and they requested a meeting on the beach, which myself, a number of city staff, the consultant, and a number of the board members and members of the public met on the dog beach in May of 2023 to discuss the different options and what we were talking about. At that time, we did receive some feedback, including the need for having stairs, not just an ADA pathway, but a more direct route for those who are not mobility limited, as well as, again, the desire to keep as much of the construction off of the dog beach as possible. And so, as well as a couple of other things about dog wash locations and stuff that are minor things. So we incorporated as much of that as we could into the plan, move forward. After that, there's not been an official public engagement. As you know, the council has directed staff to try to use public engagement judiciously in order to reduce consultant costs. So however, this project is part of a general monthly update that goes every month to the Parks and Recreation Board. And they have not necessarily requested an additional public engagement related to this project, but it's been included in at least 1 year's worth of monthly updates. We did submit it for review to historic preservation. It was determined by the policies and procedures on their website that it was subject to administrative review, and so it was reviewed administratively by community development staff, which has happened on any number of other projects as well. And then I would say that is probably the sum total of the public engagement.
Thank you. Thank you. So my takeaway here is that there has been, adequate stakeholder engagement. I spoke with some of my contacts with the Clark Street Beach Bird Sanctuary just to make sure that they were on board. I received positive feedback from them, and specifically some appreciation for Michael Callahan and Stephanie Levine for their work here. So I wanted to share that publicly as well.
Thank you.
I'm ready to move forward with this. I heard my constituent, Mr. Johnson, advocate for a dog beach sooner rather than later. Not to put words in your mouth, but that's what my main takeaway was from my constituent. I don't see a need to prolong this any further. What more value can be gained is unclear to me. What is clear to me is that if this is prolonged, we will probably add cost, and we're probably not going to end up changing very much anyway. So I'm ready to move forward. This kind of thing frustrates me when we get to almost the end and then somebody says, oh, wait, we did it wrong. I don't believe that's the case. I'm ready to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reed?
Thank you. I think the main thing this boils down to is I think Mr. Klein is the chair or the vice chair of the Preservation, Secretary of the Preservation Commission, say that our code mandates that this go before the Preservation Commission. Can I ask our Corporation Counsel, what is the law? Well, let me first ask, is our lakefront designated a historic area?
It is in the Lakefront Historic District.
Okay, it's in the Lakefront Historic District, and with it being in a historic district, does our code mandate that the Preservation Commission see items that deal with historic districts? Corporation.
Yep. Thank you, Councilmember Reed. Alex Ruggie, Corporation Counsel. So the City Code in Chapter 8, under Powers and Duties, states that the Preservation Commission shall have the power and duty to review and comment to the appropriate department or agency concerning city projects affecting landmarks or district or areas, property structures, sites, or objects eligible for designation as landmarks. So it provides that the Preservation Commission can give review and comment to the department regarding that project.
Okay, and how do they do that?
Maybe Sarah can answer that.
Well, it could go to the Preservation Commission, or it could also just be, information could be sent to them and they could respond to it.
Has this information been sent to them for them to respond to?
This is this particular issue is considered above-ground infrastructure, and in that same Article 8, that is a responsibility that is an administrative review. And so even if the Preservation Commission were to review it, it would then, their comments would go back to the administrative review.
Okay.
It has been, a certificate of appropriateness has been issued already.
Can someone point to the exact language?
Is the commissioner still online? Commissioner
So
Klein?
I was reading from Title II, Chapter 8
This is their bylaws that,
in the bylaws.
in the bylaws, this is in the bylaws of the Preservation Commission.
Yeah, I was reading from the city code.
And I don't
G,
have that
powers
open.
and duties, number 24. But then in their powers and duties, it goes into the specifications.
Okay, so,
It's Article 8.
yeah, I'm looking at,
It's Article 8 of the bylaws of the Preservation Commission.
okay, but I'm looking for the city code. I understand their rules apply to their conduct, their bylaws, but if our city code says that, they must review and comment to the appropriate department or agency concerning city projects or activities affecting land, or activities, that seems like a very broad definition there, affecting landmarks or districts or areas, property structures, sites, or objects eligible for designation as landmarks or districts. And so the plain language there seems as though the commission would necessarily have to have the opportunity at minimum to receive the information and provide feedback. So I think our code mandates that the commission have this opportunity. And also I heard, thank you, Councilmember Harris, for your questions. I mean, what I heard was that we have until July 14th? 13th. And our next council meeting is July 8th. I don't see a reason why the Preservation Commission couldn't receive this information and have an opportunity to give feedback by July 8th, and still allow us to move forward with the current bids if that is still deemed appropriate, but it would allow us the opportunity to follow the code.
A note, though, the Preservation Commission itself, in its rules and procedures, Article 8 says the review of this would be administrative, so they had already given that responsibility to be an administrative review.
Can you,
May I?
I don't have that in front of me. I will pause for a second to try
Can I
to,
respond to that? Is that?
I'm in your chair, you can do what you want.
So my understanding is that they did request to have it heard, and staff made the decision to deal with this administratively, but that the officers did in fact request to have it come before them. And again, we all want to proceed with this. We just want to do it right and follow our code. And I do think it's appropriate to have this go first to the Preservation Commission. And I think there's a likelihood this may improve and be completed, within the same time frame. So I'd like to go ahead and motion that this be, I apologize, sorry. Councilmember Harris?
Thank you so much. So I thought I heard, and maybe I didn't, Sarah, you said, I'm sorry, Laura, I'm looking at Laura saying Sarah. Laura, that you had sent it to them and they didn't have any, or did I not hear, and I may not have heard that correctly, so please correct me.
Staff submitted it to, regardless of who is reviewing it, staff submits it to the Community Development Department. And there's a list on the Historic Preservation Commission's website of their rules and procedures. In that, there is a statement about city projects, and city projects are divided into two categories, those that are reviewed administratively and those that go to historic preservation for review. So it was determined that it would be reviewed administratively.
So they didn't. So, okay, I just want to be
The
clear.
Historic Preservation Commission has not seen this.
Okay.
Only the staff.
Do we know when they meet, when their next meeting is? Because what I want us to be cognizant of the fact that we have people on different commissions waiting for us to make mistakes. We do not need to make those mistakes. And if that means giving them something, whether they're privileged to it or not, we give it to them. Because I don't like the gotcha minutes. And we seem to get those a lot, and we need to be preemptive. So when do they meet? Let's get them these documents and give them a deadline so that we can meet our July 13th, so we can meet our city obligation.
They meet the day after our council meeting.
They can get it now and get us
And
some
point of
recommendations.
order, special meetings can be called.
Yeah. So I just don't want us to be where we are right now. I don't like that feeling where a commissioner is telling us we should have had this and we didn't. Whether it's that fine line or not, it can't hurt us to give them this information. But I don't, in contrary, I don't want to miss a deadline because everybody in the city will have something to say, and we'll direct them to whoever changes this motion that it's a now $200,000 plus, because we do that as well. So we've got to make some decisions immediately, like in the next few minutes.
The commission meets on the second Tuesday of the month, so that would be after the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Reed?
Yes, I would like to move that we send this that we send this information to the Preservation Commission. I don't think that would stop us from moving this forward in a timely fashion with the instructions that they hold a special meeting before July 8th. And so that's my motion.
I'll second.
And just, well, I think we're there. I may not need to go through it any further, but I'm just looking at Article 8, and I'm seeing city projects or activities reviewed by City of Evanston's Community Development Department, and I'm sorry, it says installation of any new above-ground infrastructure. And I'm sorry, why is this not above-ground infrastructure?
It is.
That's exactly the point. This is viewed as above-ground infrastructure, and therefore it's reviewed administratively by the department and does not go to the Preservation Commission for the certificate of appropriateness. And also to clarify, the department has issued a certificate of appropriateness on this project. So if you do refer it to the Preservation Commission, it would be a discussion item only, and because the certificate of appropriateness has already been issued.
What I'm seeing is it says routine maintenance for city infrastructure not listed below is considered exempt from review.
Councilmember Reed, I think that was part of the debate, that it's more than just above ground, that it's a whole, it's a very, it's a substantial structure on the lakefront, and that's why it needs to go before the Preservation Commission. It's like I was saying, it's not just a structure above ground such as picnic tables or, but that it's a significant structure. Yeah, Councilmember.
We're making a path. It's a little deck-like thing on the lakefront. Let's get out of our way. Let's get out of our way. Staff has reviewed the procedures, made the decision that this does not require consultation with the Preservation Commission. I'm willing to accept the professional opinion of staff. what happens if we kick this to a special meeting of the Preservation Commission? If they can even get it together to meet before City Council, they will talk. What they say is really advisory in any case. It comes back to council at our next meeting, and here we are again having achieved nothing. So I can see when people are frustrated with city government, when something like this happens, after everything that we've put into this, all the stakeholder engagement, $93,000 of consulting time, and here we are kind of second guessing ourselves because somebody doesn't like the conclusion that the process resulted in. That's our job to say, we are done discussing this. We are prepared to move forward. I'm prepared to make that vote tonight because I have assured myself that proper procedure was followed. And guys, let's just get out of our way. Otherwise, we're going to be here at our next meeting having the exact same discussion with no new information. So let's just get this done. We have other things to do. We have a lot of stuff we need to do in town. Getting out of our way on stuff that is 95% of the way there is one thing we could do to make our lives easier. So
Thank you. Councilmember Reed?
Yeah, well, I'll close here. You know, what I'm seeing here is that if we were to put up new signage, that the commission would deal with that, correct?
No.
It's administrative.
That would be
It says city
administrative.
projects or activities reviewed by the commission, and it says installation of new streetlight poles, fixtures, or traffic signals, replacing, sorry, that's not this section. Installation of new signage, specifically historic district signs, wayfinding signs, and monument signs. It says that signage would be reviewed by the commission. And it also says that exterior altercation of city-owned buildings or structures conforming to the definition of alteration of Historic Preservation Ordinance 282, alterations requiring commission review are those city projects or activities proposing a change to the appearance of that property, building, or structure's historic, cultural, architectural, or archaeological features. And I don't know, again, I just think this is this potentially falls under that. I think it very well could. And I get your frustration, Councilmember Newsom, but the answer to that is we should have just done it right the first time and followed the code and had it have gone to them a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, folks are frustrated with city government. They're frustrated that city government believes it's above the law and can, you know, write ordinances that other folks have to follow, but they don't have to follow it themselves. And so I think that's a frustration that folks have with local government. And so I would encourage us to send this to Preservation Committee. I would encourage us to clarify the law and to make sure that it's crystal clear what goes to them and what doesn't. I don't think it is. And so with that, I would encourage my colleagues to send this to Preservation Commission.
Thank you. Director Keno, would you take the vote on the motion, please?
So the motion is sending this back to the Preservation Committee. All right. With the second was Councilmember Kelly.
We have a motion on the floor. So now we're taking, it's been seconded and voted, so now we're voting.
we're voting on the motion to refer this to the Preservation Commission.
Correct.
And, I mean, the vote started, so I probably can't say anything, but I just want to make sure that we can make it in time for our deadline. I
Yeah,
think that-
my instruction along with that was that they have something back to us by our July 8th meeting.
Because it's clear, as Councilman Reed said, they can hold a special meeting. If it's that important to them, I would hope they do that.
Okay, so we would ask for some communication back to us by our next meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Newsma,
No.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
I know, it doesn't matter, no.
Okay, so the motion passes, and so this will be brought back to us at our next meeting. Okay, would somebody please move item A10?
I'll move item A10, approval to change order number 2 to the contract with Christopher Burke Engineering for the LAD Arboretum Canoe Launch Project, RFP 2242.
Second.
Okay, and I'll just, I had a quick question on this. I pulled it off, and I know we're running over. I see that this one, I believe, is being paid for with, in part, I think it says here, from 2023 GO bonds. Is that?
This is Laura Biggs, city engineer. Yes, Chair, that is true. It is, there was a budget that was set aside. The bonds are in the process of being sold, but they included a certain amount of budget, and there's a little bit of money left in that budget that will be part of the bond sale. And so this would end out the end of the bond sale. I mean, would use those dollars.
But we didn't issue bonds in 2023, correct?
Yes, that is true. Those bonds are just labeled 2023 bonds in the budget.
Okay. So I guess it concerns me approving funding from a source that doesn't exist. So I think we should just be clear in how we're funding it, because we don't have 2023 GO bonds. So when we vote on this, we're voting on a funding source that doesn't actually exist.
So
we don't have a 2023.
I understand your concern. I believe that those bonds that are being sold to fund 2022 and 2023 projects, the city council actually approved them as the sale of 2022 bonds and 2023 bonds as their title. And those are in the process of being put together now for the final bond sale. So that's why I was referring to them that way.
Okay. I guess I would ask, I've asked before that we not make reference to bonds that weren't issued, because I know you can only call a 2023 bond a bond that's been issued in 2023. I mean, that's, but, so I just wanted clarification on that. Thank you
for
very much.
that. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly. Oh,
Aye.
Oops. Yeah. Councilmember Harris.
Madam Chair, I'll move item A11, approval of new special event permit applications.
I'm not going to speak to that. We can go ahead and take, because I know we're running late. So, thank you.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Madam Chair, I will move Resolution 38R24, authorizing the settlement and release of all claims in City of Evanston versus Copenhagen Construction, 2022 L005117.
Second.
Thank you. And I sent around an amendment to this because it in fact includes a settlement also with Christopher Burke Engineering. So for transparency, I asked that we add, and I sent that to everybody here, whereas the settlement amount of $800,000 with $475,000 as a settlement with Copenhagen Construction and $325,000 with Christopher Burke Engineering, that it be modified to include those words.
Second.
Okay, can we take a roll on that?
I'm sorry, can you give us a second here?
Sure.
5 o'clock.
5 p.m.
Just point of order, are the numbers that Councilmember Kelly shared correct? All right, so
Yeah.
our Corporation Counsel saying it's correct?
Actually, Corporation Counsel provided me with the wording for this.
Right, so.
Councilmember Harris?
I'm sorry, and what is the purpose of just changing the
Well,
wording?
because it suggests that the whole settlement is with Copenhagen, when in fact it's with two parties.
Gotcha.
Couldn't we hear from Corporation Counsel to explain why this change?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember Newsma. So this just parses out the $800,000 settlement. It specifies the amount for each parties. So the settlement includes a $475,000 settlement with Copenhagen Construction and a $325,000 settlement with Christopher Burke Engineering. So the amendment from Chair Kelly just specifies that in the resolution to make it clearer and more transparent.
Thank you.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
So with that, well,
With that, it concludes.
procedurally, you made an amendment. Was that a vote on the
Oh,
amendment?
I'm sorry. That was a vote on the amendment. You're
yes.
right. So now we'll vote on the main item.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye, sorry.
Okay, I think that concludes our meeting. The Administration Public Works Committee meeting on June 24th at 5:55. Thank you, 5:54. And we'll start P&D at 6? Yep, does that sound okay? Sure. Okay, thank you.